Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. In this video, we are going to jump into the free lunches in school debate via a Instagram clip from that I saw featuring Charlie Kirk. If you guys do not know who Charlie Kirk is, he's a far-right conservative, Trump loyalist who has a very big following online and through social media. So we're going to take a look at this interaction. I'm not going to call it much of a debate. In terms of whether or not school lunches should be provided to students for free.
I think that there should be free school lunch for all children.
No.
Why?
Of course not. Because parents should feed their kids, not the government.
What if they can't?
Go get a job.
A child?
The parents should go get the job.
Yeah.
This is important. I don't believe...
They have jobs and they can't support their children there because the minimum wage is so low.
No, you are a dumb dude. Don't give me this stuff.
Okay, so that I don't know who this other guy is, but that's 100% true. I don't know why Charlie, I mean, he lives in just lying for a living often, but there are parents, and guys, I have worked with young people basically my entire career. There are parents who are working multiple jobs around the clock, but they still struggle to feed their family, okay? It's not a laziness issue. It is a fact that the price of items is completely out of control. The price of medical care is completely out of control. The price of child care is completely out of control. The price of rent and mortgage and home ownership is completely out of control. So you have this unsolvable equation where you have to sacrifice things. That is not dumb. That is the reality for millions and millions of families across this country. Maybe they're not working on the minimum wage, but you can make above the minimum wage and still be struggling due to the price of everyday items. And he just seems to not comprehend that with that comment.
First of all, this is really
I want children to eat.
Of course I do. Show me a single child in America going hungry. Doesn't exist. Number two, we have churches, we have food.
Okay, that's just, once again, a flat out lie. I think the numbers are 1 in 6 or 1 in 5 students in schools struggle, or children struggle with food insecurity. So I just, the flat out willingness and lack of even pause to just lie like that. Of course, guys, you know, I've had far-right conservatives post on my stuff saying, we need to feed kids in the United States. We shouldn't have our taxpayer money, for instance, going to feed kids in Africa through USAID or USAID, however you want to pronounce it. So even people like far-right conservatives are acknowledging that there is a starvation or a hunger issue amongst kids in the United States. That is the line that was used to not feed starving kids in Africa. We can do both, breaking news, because we're the richest country in the world, but like the pretzel twisting of like, no, we shouldn't feed kids in Africa because we have starving kids here, and now we just don't have starving kids, I guess, when the data is in flat out contradiction to what he just said there.
Shelters. We have billions, and it does not exist. We have a child obesity problem, not a child starvation problem in this country. That 50% of our kids are obese or overweight. There's not a single kid in America that has died of starvation in the last 10 years. Show me that kid. Show me. They're not. This is a propaganda thing from the Democrat Party.
Okay, I needed to pause there. A few things. First of all, it's not 50%. That's insane. So once again, just a flat out lie, exaggerating the numbers like Trump does, right? Just flat out lying. Secondly, guys, you can have both can be true at the same time, right? You can have an issue with obesity amongst certain kids, which, by the way, largely that is driven due to a lack of actual healthy sources of food, and the fact often the food that is hyper processed and bad for us is the cheapest option. So often the obesity problem is still a function of the lack of money in our broken food supply chain that overcharges for the healthy food. And there's also, additionally, guys, there are food deserts across this country where families do not have access to, you know, fresh fruits, fresh produce at large within like a 5-mile, 10-mile, 15-mile radius potentially of where they live. So that also drives the obesity problem. But he just doesn't want to obviously engage with that. But you can have certain people, once again, who are overweight, but also have people who are starving at the same time. That's not complicated to comprehend, I would hope. Last thing I want to mention is he says no one has died from starvation. So is he saying, no, it's okay that kids are like hungry as long as they're not pushed to literally dying due to starvation? Like that is the stat he is trying to point to as like, no, no, no. See, this is a good thing. We don't have any deaths, but we still have 1 in 5 to 1 in 6 kids going hungry. Apparently that's okay as long as they don't reach literal starvation death, according to his citing of that stat. I don't understand. That seems to be a drastic measure, not what we should be focused on. We, as the richest country in the world, should not have a single kid going hungry, much less like going all the way to the end point of dying from starvation. That's just such a ridiculous end of the spectrum argument there.
Our kids are so overweight, they have type 2 diabetes by the age of 8.
So
So the number one problem for kids right now is that they're not moving enough and they're eating too much, not that there's child starvation. Instead, let's get back to a time where we say, hey, parents feed your kids, churches feed your kids, communities feed your kids, not big daddy government coming in and doing what the families do. With that, I say thank you guys so much and have a great day. Thank you.
So notice there, he didn't even give that individual a chance to respond at all. That's why I mentioned it wasn't really a debate. It was just an interaction. But guys, one of the disturbing parts of that video, it's not really Charlie Kirk. It's not really like when we look at these individual media figures, it's not them themselves. It's the fact there's people cheering that on as he spews those flat out lies and like just doesn't believe kids should be fed in school. Now, I'm going to break this down now that we're done with this video. I know that most parents, in my lived experience, try their absolute best with their students, okay, and their kids, right? But let's assume in Kirk's situation, parents have just let their kids down. They're just lazy. They, for some reason, don't have a job or whatever argument he wants to say. What he is proposing is inflicting essentially more pain on the child due to the parents, you know, seeming failures. Once again, we're living in Kirk's world, right? I just don't understand that logic. He is okay with churches paying for the kids, right? So other people's money, community center, so other people's money, right? He's okay with other people funding the kids. But my taxpayer money, absolutely not. My money, my taxes should not go to feeding kids. Think about that. Because overall, he mentioned there, yes, other institutions should still feed the kids, right? But not my money. Don't touch my money to help feed kids. It's just, people like this, guys, are so inherently detached from reality and what struggling families actually go through. And they constantly speak from the mindset and perspective of the rich because they don't face the issues and they don't see how fundamentally they play out on the ground level when a kid can't eat. So this is my actual solution because I don't like when people just complain and they don't have actual solutions. There should 100% be universal free lunches for all students. I think it's a pretty good just litmus test, honestly, as a person, if you think kids should be able to eat in school or not, okay? We are the richest country in the world. And like I said, we have 1 to 5 to 1 in 6 kids suffering from hunger. We also live in a country where our government did something great in passing and increasing the child tax credit, which lifted a bunch of people out of poverty, like the additional add-on during COVID. And then they immediately got rid of that and kids immediately went back into poverty. So I guess it doesn't surprise me that this is not implemented already and it's not evident. Also, guys, the data shows kids who are well nourished, they perform better in school. That is not surprising. They score better on tests. They have better attendance. They have lower behavioral issues when kids have access to healthy meals. They also provide, because of this, it provides a small step towards addressing inequities in education and health outcomes among people from different backgrounds. And guys, it also eliminates that awkward social stigma that kids have to go through who are on free or reduced lunches, going through the lunch line. Just imagine yourself, guys, as an elementary school kid or a middle school kid, and that Kids are not always nice at that age, guys. So having to admit, yeah, my family doesn't have that much money, therefore I have to go through. Maybe the lunch lady has to ask me a specific question. It can just be a very awkward, uncomfortable position. And guys, also, I don't know if you know this, but certain programs for free or reduced lunch, the threshold to achieve it is so low, meaning families have to make so little money to qualify that a family may still be struggling financially, but they are not covered by the free or reduced lunch because, once again, that threshold to qualify is so low in terms of the family income. Additionally, guys, why we should have universal free lunches. It would cut costs for all families. And guys, for once, we would have, or not for once, but it would be a rare moment where our tax dollars are directly going to something that is benefiting us, right? A lot of times what we see now is our tax money going across seas, going across the engage in wars in the Middle East, for instance. But guys, imagine, all right, our tax dollars directly going to schools, directly going towards nourishing kids. And it can also help. I want us to always think about this. If we are in times of financial hardship, so you may be listening, you may be laid off, something may happen, you never know, right? To know that the school that you send your kids to will provide your child, I would honestly push for breakfast and lunch, not just lunch, but knowing that your kid will be fed no matter what, that is guaranteed by the government at a place that your child is also legally required to go to, that is an amazing societal win, guys. The infrastructure is already in place within schools to feed children because kids are legally required to go there, right? It makes the most sense. It is the most logical. It is the most efficient. I have personally seen firsthand how schools providing things like this can change, whether it's meals at Thanksgiving or the holidays, additional snacks to send home. It can change the entire day, week, month for a family and alleviate significant hardships. So I think this is obvious. We should be feeding kids in school. It should be universal. And it is not as radical as you may think, depending on where you lie on the political spectrum. It has already been done in countries like India, Japan, Sweden. I think Finland's done something. And even within our own borders, states like New York, California, Minnesota. I remember Tim Walz running huge on that, where he signed that bill and the kids were so happy for that free lunch program. New Mexico does something. Vermont does something as well. And I'm just going to leave you guys with this. Unless you are just a staunch libertarian, which I think is a problem in itself, but we'll put that to the side. But if you are a staunch libertarian who believes in no government assistance basically at all, right? That's a different discussion. So unless you fall into that category, think about how every dollar of your taxes are spent. How many issues in society do you think should be put above feeding starving children? Okay? And I'll just leave it at that. Thank you for watching and being part of a growing progressive community. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And if you have the time, check out some of my other episodes you can see around me. Thank you.